I'm going to try to keep this as short as conceivably possible. I don't really have much to say about Sonic 1, but since I knew I was probably going to move on and review basically every other Sonic game, and don't tell me you don't know that's going to happen eventually, because it's me, and I have to do Sonic reviews, it's like a rule, I decided I wanted to talk about it a little bit because well, really haven't ever. The thing about Sonic 1 is that, as a kid, I actually played Sonic 2 first, and that's kind of a problem. See, Sonic 1 hasn't really aged well when compared to every other game that came out after it, basically, particularly Sonic 2 and Sonic 3 and Knuckles. The game was really good for its time, but it's missing a lot of things that would appear in late games. Most of the problems with the first one were remedied immediately in Sonic 2. For example, there's no spin dash in this game. That may not sound bad, but if you played a Sonic game, you know there are times where you lose your momentum and can't get up ramps. Here, you can't spin dash to get up them, so you have to back up and then run and build momentum and then get up the ramp. It's frustrating, especially if you played Sonic 2 first and are used to having the spin dash. Another problem with the original game is that there's this thing called the double spike bug, where basically what happens is that even though when Sonic gets hit in this game he's invincible for a few seconds, it doesn't register when it comes to the spikes, so you'll die regardless of how many rings you have, and whether or not you're invulnerable. Don't get me wrong, the game's still really good and fun to play, but like I said, it just hasn't aged too well. The game looked really great for the time, and it was one of the big reasons why the Genesis sold so well when it came out. Seeing this many colors on the same screen and seeing Sonic move so quickly across the screen really impressed people back when it was released. After all, they'd been playing mostly the NES up until this point, and the NES was 8-bit. Genesis was 16-bit. Genesis does what Nintendo don't, and Sonic was set out to show that, and for the most part, he did. The music in the game is also really good and incredibly memorable. Any Sonic fan who's been around for a while has heard and probably knows by heart the Green Hill Zone theme song. The special stages in this game are unique and fun to play. A lot of people don't consider them some of the worst in terms of the original games in the Genesis, but I honestly like them quite a lot. They're fun, they're interesting, and they would later be reused as sort of an inspiration for some of the bonus stages in Sonic 3. The game, unfortunately, does have a few more problems that I want to go over. For one, the level design really drives me nuts. Green Hill Zone is fine, that's not the issue. It's basically every other stage after Green Hill Zone. I don't know what their problem was, but for some reason they kind of forgot they were trying to make a fast-paced platformer, and started making levels that basically prevented you from going fast at all. Like, oh, I don't know, immediately after Green Hill Zone and Marble Zone? What the fuck is this? I can't go fast in this level. And, you know, the platforming's solid and everything works fine, but honestly, I just want to go fast. Like, wasn't that the point of playing Sonic the Hedgehog? Why would you design a level like this? And this would go on for the rest of the game, where they would throw in these levels where you just couldn't travel quickly. You had to jump carefully and stop sometimes. It was annoying. Not all the levels are like this. Like I said, Green Hill Zone is fine, and some of the later levels are okay, but there's just too many times where I feel like I'm restricted. Sonic 2 would remedy this problem. Another issue, though, are the bosses. And again, I can give it some leniency, because again, this is the first Sonic game. You really have to keep that in mind, people, that nothing had been solidified yet. They didn't even know they had a series when this game was made, so I can't bitch too much, but this is another problem. The bosses are all really lazy, in my opinion. It's all just Eggman's little frickin' egg copter, I forget what the hell it's called, with something else attached to the bottom of it. The first level, it's a ball. The second level, it's some fire spitter thing. It goes on. There's no creativity or complexity to the bosses. It's basically the same thing every time with a new attachment. Now you may be saying, well, isn't that basically what it is every time? Well, yeah, but compared to the bosses in Sonic 2, and especially Sonic 3, they don't even hold a candle here. But again, I can't really take many points off because of it, because, you know, it was the first Sonic game. And at the end of the day, you gotta take it for what it is. They didn't know they had a series. They didn't know they had a franchise. All they were doing was releasing what they thought would be a great game, and for the time, it really was. If you get a chance to play Sonic 1, I implore you, give it a try. It is a really good game, but remember, this was made before Sonic 2, and it will show that it was made before Sonic 2. So if you played that first, don't be surprised. This is Darkness, and I bid you all a fond farewell.